The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL. However, you're encouraged to like and share them on Facebook, because it's time for the African American Scene, presented each week at this time by Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie and hosted by Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. Boy, there's a lot of stuff going on. You know, every once in a while, I feel it's important to reiterate why I do this show each Wednesday. I try to give you thoughts that are outside of your own to contemplate. I give you a perspective that most African Americans will not give you because they want to be polite. I am accused often of being racist, and I'm not. And I have plenty of white friends that will tell you I'm not. But here's what I am, which may disturb some of you. And for my white friends, it does not disturb them at all. If you say dumb stuff in front of me and you think you're going to get away with it, I don't let it pass. Most African Americans will let it pass because they want to be polite. I don't do it in a mean or nasty way, but I make it very clear to you, you just cannot say that kind of thing in my presence. Now, if that makes me racist, then okay, I guess I'm guilty of that. But it's just I do not tolerate the dumb stuff or dumb statements being said in front of me that are racially insensitive, whereas many African Americans would just ignore it to be polite. And contrary to what you might think, there's a lot of black folks that let stuff slide that would deeply offend me, but because they want to be polite. They don't want you to feel uncomfortable. So, now that I got that out of the way, and I felt the need to say that because somebody accused me once again of being racist. Now, let me tell you something that went on today, and then I have a real treat for you. I wanted to use some clips from the Patriotic Millionaires, who you've heard me talk about many times. And Carol asked me to get permission from them before I would post anything from the Patriotic Millionaires. And I wrote to them, and they were very gracious to me, and they provided me with permission to use some of their video clips on my show. Let me tell you what happened today in Washington, D.C. They had a forum in Washington, D.C. called Tax the Rich, and it was made up of college economics professors and professors of other disciplines and millionaires who were talking about the gross injustice of the income inequality in our society. And just to give you a flavor, I have a little video clip here. It's about 5 minutes that's really worth listening to because it's from Disney's daughter. And for all of you who have told me over the years that I don't get it, that it's trickle-down economics, I want you to listen to what Disney's daughter has to say. Go, Cliff.
Now, this is the famous Walt Disney's daughter.
Yes.
And I want to make sure how tax breaks help the rich. That's what it's called. I may have picked up the one next to it, but I'm going to try to go ahead and do it because I think I got the right one.
Okay.
So, yeah. Here we go.
That's it. Yeah.
Here we go.
My name is Abigail Disney. Now I'm just going to answer your next 3 questions before you ask them. Yes, I am related. Yes, I do get into Disneyland for free. And no, he's not frozen. My grandfather Roy and my great uncle Walt came from near total poverty in the rural Midwest, and with gumption and guts and brilliance started a little company you might have heard of, the Walt Disney Company. They made a lot of money. They gave some of that money to my dad, and then my dad gave it to me. I did not do anything to earn that money. And yet, I'm about to get a huge handout from Congress. You might have heard it called a tax cut, and yes, it's a very fat tax cut for me, along with some other people and corporations mostly in the 1%. But it's probably not going to be a meaningful tax cut to you. For example, if you work for a living, your income is probably going to be taxed at a higher rate than mine once I set up a pass-through corporation to send it through. That's right, 21%. This bill will give me this tax cut while also killing health insurance for over 13 million people. It will let me pass over $20 million along to my children tax-free. And all my friends with private jets, they get a tax cut too. In the meantime, you can say goodbye to any of the state and local taxes you write off. And if you're a teacher, you can say goodbye to writing off school supplies. My grandfather was the American dream. He was able to go from poverty to incredible wealth. That's called social mobility. With a suffocating education system, a dying infrastructure, and a national debt that will be at least $1.5 trillion bigger, that social mobility will be far out of reach for people like you. But I will be able to stay comfortably right where I am. Does that strike you as fair? I know we heard that the swamp was getting drained, but given how this bill was written, I think it's looking a lot like a nightmare from Pirates of the Caribbean. Have I made you angry yet? I really hope I've made you angry. You should be. No one who votes for this tax bill will be voting with your life in mind, but you will pay for it and the debt it generates in cuts to Medicare, Social Security, public education, and in bills paid to your mechanic to repair the axles you break in potholes on your way to work. We've been around the block on supply-side economics now in a very serious way, and we know that it doesn't work. We know that wealth does not trickle down. My grandfather and my great-uncle relied on public investment to build the Walt Disney Company to what it is today. But more than anything, without a thriving and healthy middle class, there are no consumers for what Disney creates. I know it must seem strange to you that I'm speaking up about this tax bill when I have so much to gain by it. But if a democracy is just a bunch of people advocating for their own self-interest instead of the interests of the greater good, then we're not democracy, we're anarchy. We need to start voting and acting as citizens as though the common good matters more than our own personal well-being.
And from the horse's mouth this time, Rudy.
Hey, listen, for my listeners, that didn't come from Rudy Howard. That came from Disney's heir telling you that the current situation is untenable and unfair.
She makes oodles and oodles of money, has never worked a day for it.
Right.
And has so much money, and she can get into Disney free anytime she wants. Her dad was Walt Disney, okay? But we've all been hearing it. We've been hearing it for years. Oh, that's just a tax break for the rich. And everybody says, no, it's not. No, it's not. Blah, blah. Well, now we've heard from the horse's mouth. Somebody who's...
And you heard her say the most important thing that I have battled for years every Wednesday night. She said trickle-down economics does not work. Doesn't work.
It works in the toilet bowl. It trickles down.
That's right.
It goes round and round and trickles down.
Yeah. So listen, and the phone number is 340-1590. So if you want to argue about that, you're going to have to argue with Disney's heiress, who has
probably as much money as Donald Trump.
Yes,
probably,
I'm sure she does.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And she's saying, no, this is not fair. You have to make some changes. I have been on this message probably for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I have been beat up here on Wednesday night, many, many Wednesday nights for having this discussion. But for the first time in 5 years, it is starting to change because of people like Disney, who is willing to step forward and admit that we are out of balance and something has to change. They had a forum today. Like I said, the Rich Forum. And it was on a live stream. And in between doing work, I tried to keep it up because I have two screens. So I was watching it on one screen and doing work on the other screen. I couldn't see it all, but I saw good sections of it where people was standing up talking about the impact of the disproportionate wealth distribution in this country. So I don't know where you are with that, but if you've been hanging on to that trickle-down theory, as one particular person I know very well has, who has been unyielding on it, well, you better yield, because your rich friends are telling you it doesn't work.
They've talked about trickle-down economics so much that everybody's basically forgot what it basically consists of.
Right. Well, yeah.
Basically, if they throw a bunch of money to folks, like give them great big tax returns.
Yes.
Great big tax return. Okay, an extra bonus this time or something like that. Well, what happens to the money? Well, people who are wealthy, they invest it and they work that money. But folks who aren't so wealthy, they buy stuff.
That's exactly right. And that's why you're beginning to see a change, because if you don't put some more money in the middle class pocket, they are not going to be able to buy things.
Right, and the theory is that you put it into their pockets from the top, it rolls down to the bottom, and then the little people on the bottom, they get to buy some stuff. But that's like a lure. That's like a carrot in front of a horse just to get it to move a little faster.
But but you heard Disney. She's saying it doesn't work.
No.
I heard today when I was looking at this live stream, there was 5 big time millionaires in a row came up and basically said, we got to stop telling this lie, because trickle down does not work. Doesn't work. He says, one of the guys says, the only thing it does is make me richer. And he said, we got to stop telling people that lie, because that lie just is misleading the public. And what we have to do is be able to have a productive society. We have to raise the middle class and get more money into the middle class where it can have a positive impact on our economy. We just had the ballot that came out that asked if we would vote for a ad valorem tax increase to raise teachers' pay, and with the idea being that it would be for 4 years, and that there would be a specific committee put together to watch how the funds were going to be spent that would be collected, these additional funds. Now, I'll tell you for sure, I voted for that increase. Now, I have some listeners who are not hardcore conservatives, but probably did not vote for that because they just feel that no more taxes for people to waste. But I wanted to give you something to think about. For those of you that are in my age category, which is the Medicare age, when we were in school, we had gym classes, we had practical education, like home economics, we had basic shop classes like electric shop, metal shop. Even if you were on an academic trend, we still had those classes. Those are gone. We had music programs. Those are gone. When I was in junior high school, I learned how to do basic tumbles. I learned how to use a pommel horse. You know, we had to do exercises on the rings. There's none of that going on anymore. Because every time we have cut taxes, we have sliced off funds to help making our kids more well-rounded. And you know, I can think about some of the singing assemblies we had, basic things like singing assemblies. All the kids would go into the auditorium and you would learn a song in your homeroom class, and the whole school would go into the auditorium and you all would sing this song. And I can still sing one song that's in my mind. I've never been able to forget. Get Along Home, Cindy, Cindy. We learned that in junior high school, and we all went into the auditorium and sung that song. And all those things are gone.
What was the name of that song?
Get along home,
Get
Cindy.
along home, Cindy, Cindy.
Get along home, Cindy.
Did we go to the same school?
Oh, I'm telling you.
The old school.
Yeah, that was, yeah. So, you know, why? And so as we've cut taxes, we've also hurt our children. Because you know what? There's two theories of education. And caller, I'm going to be with you in a second, but let me get through this. There's two basic theories of education. There's more than two, but the two basic ones is the Skinnerian theory, which is strictly academic oriented, and the Gestalt theory of education, in which it is believed that in the course of education, one must make the body and the mind strong at the same time. They both work together. And we got Paul on line one. Yes, how you doing, Paul?
Hey, Rudy, how are you?
Okay.
Long-time listener, first time I managed to have time to call in.
Okay.
First of all, kudos to the Disney lady. About time. Gee whiz. They've been talking about trickle-down economics ever since, well, I was old enough to comprehend anything about politics.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, you were talking about, like, the shop classes and that, and I graduated Martin County High in '76, and we had a very rigorous shop program. I mean, they had wood shop. I took that. They had electronics, radio, TV, and electronic repair. I took that stringently because then eventually I had my own business. And then they had auto mechanics. And I mean, this prepared all the kids that were not able to go to college or could afford college nor got scholarships a fighting chance to have a decent living wage. And I know a lot of them, because of those shop classes, wound up, as well as myself, going into business for a while. And it sure helps, you know. But that's all gone. I don't know. And like you were saying, too, about the exercises, you know, the phys ed and the tumbling and track and field and all this other stuff, which I did do also. And, you know, what they rather just sit home and get a little larger and maybe play the video games. I don't know.
Well, Paul, I got to tell you, man, what if you think about what has happened, we keep making tax cuts, and so we make the rich richer, and we make our kids fatter. Because because our kids not doing gym class.
I know.
And we're making kids that if they're not, like you said, listen, I can remember an electric shop, and I was in the academic, the kids that were going to college. I was in that program, but I still had to do just like you did. I can remember going in the electric shop, and we had a little model simulation of a house, and you had to learn how to wire that house.
Yes.
You remember that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And you had to make it. You had to make it work.
Yes, sir. Yep.
All that's gone, Paul. It's gone.
What a shame. What a shame. So, what are they teaching the kids now?
Well,
That's my question.
They're teaching them how to pass a test.
Evidently, I'm dating myself after I told you when I graduated high school.
Yeah.
It makes you about 61 years old, right, Paul?
Yeah, Cliff. Okay.
We're all class of 76.
In 2 months. A very good guess, Cliff.
Yeah, well, you know, class of 76. I was in a different county than you, that's all.
Yeah, but Paul, you know what though? We got to speak up. We have just got to stop what we're doing, and we keep cutting to the point where now our teachers make crap for money. So yeah. So you make these people go, and they have to get their master's degrees, and they have to take these periodic tests to upgrade their skills, and then we pay them like trash.
Right, and then look at all the abuse that they take now.
Yeah.
You can't let a kid, you can't take them out of class, you can't do anything.
Right.
It's well, I don't know. I can't describe it. It's just beyond.
Well, thank you,
beyond
Paul.
description sometimes.
Thank you.
All right,
Paul.
thanks for listening. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thank you, Paul, for calling.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's. I was glad. Now, just think about what Paul just said. Paul was in Martin County. I was in Philadelphia, and we both had the same experience. We had the same experience, and Cliff was in Massachusetts. So imagine that. All three of us was in all different places, and we all had a very similar experience. So what the heck happened? And we got Kurt on line one. Yes, Kurt. Yes, Kurt.
Good subject. I graduated 1961.
Okay.
And the school system, we had, not only did we have academic pathway, but we had a what they called a general pathway, which was kind of geared for the kids that weren't necessarily college material or were considering college, more of the vocational trade school type thing. But I had to take metal shop. I had to take wood shop. And guess what? All of the fellas had a choice of taking ballroom dancing or home economics.
Yep.
That was a requirement. You had to take one or the other. And our phys ed class, we had ropes that went 18 feet from that we had to climb up a rope and do all of that stuff. And when you were a senior, you were expected to climb the rope using only your hands.
Ooh.
So anyway, I'm not bragging about it, but we also had it tiered. So they had the kids separated generally by ability. There was an English class for college majors.
Yep.
And there was an English class, which I called a general English class, that did not quite get into the sophisticated literature thing. My English class was like Shakespeare and Chaucer and that kind of stuff. The regular students or the general students, they didn't get that because they figured at the time, if you're not going to college, you probably don't need it.
Right.
But I have no objection. Normally, I am against taxation, just for the heck of it. But I'm not against giving the schools more money if the money gets spent appropriately. We've got overinflated school boards, Rudy. We've got, you've got the assistant superintendent, and then you've got the assistant to the assistant, and then you've got a superintendent that's responsible for this school, and you've got a superintendent that's responsible for that school. We've got too many layers of in my opinion, of unneeded management and wasteful. I don't necessarily agree that school teachers make crap for salary, because if you consider the number of actual days that they're in school, that salary isn't bad. And I always tell people, Rudy, it's just like when you were investigating some fields of endeavor, you should do due diligence and find out what kind of salary structure the field you're going into offers. I don't think if you want to be a school teacher and you know that your salary is going to be $40,000 a year, going in what that salary is. I don't have a problem supporting our schools, but I have a problem supporting them when I know the money is probably not going to go to where they say it's going to go.
Okay. I accept your point.
I don't know what does the $1 million add up to money-wise, dollar-wise?
Oh, I forget.
If your house is appraised, for example, at let's say $50,000, what would the $1 million add to that tax bill?
I don't think it was completely $1 million. I think it was 0.05 mil or.
No, it was $1 million.
It was $1 million. Okay.
Ad valorem was $1 million. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. I'm not sure. Maybe somebody listening could say, I don't remember. I did know the answer to that, but I don't know the answer right now.
Well, I guess I could call the county tax assessor's office, and I'm sure somebody there would know. But
yeah,
like I said, we have to figure out a better way. I think, in my opinion, we have to figure out a better way or an additional way to fund our schools. The lottery money that everybody's spending, Rudy, I don't know if you know it, but the dirty little secret when they advertised that the money, the revenues would go to our schools, you know the dirty little secret is the politicians got their greedy hands on it and misappropriated it for other areas besides education.
Well, from
And
what I can say from firsthand experience is this. If you have a kid that is eligible for Bright Future Scholarship, that is funded by the lottery money.
Yes, sir, I agree. But it wasn't the entire. I mean, I don't have a problem giving a kid scholarship money. I have a problem where they say they're going to take the profits and they're going to use it for education, and the politicians are using it for just about everything but.
Okay, well, I would like to.
And that's
you know
on
what?
both-
You're going to get me to do some work, because I'm going to try to find out exactly how that money is distributed after it's been collected. So
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, and I might make you. Some of us might just get you a little bit on the conservative side yet.
Good luck with that. But thanks for calling.
All right, thanks. Have a good evening.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
you too. And we got Winnie on line one. Yes, Winnie.
How you doing?
Okay.
Rudy and Cliff. And I have voted yes for that teacher thing. I got my ballot in the mail. I voted yes for that. I'm for it.
Me too.
And for the teachers and everything. When I had that house in Port St. Lucie, I was paying tights on it. I didn't mind paying tights. All my children had got grown. I didn't mind paying tights for other children, other people trying to go to, get public education. I didn't mind doing that, thing like that. Sometimes I buy lottery tickets. Sometimes I don't win, but already back into the system for scholarship for, children, to go to college. So I don't mind doing that either. I don't buy, buy whenever I can afford it and things like this. So it's all for a good cause in a way, for you think about it. Things like this here. Joe Biden, them ladies, they be coming out the woodwork, don't they? They mess with Donald Trump. And all the list go, and Bill Cosby, the list go on and on and on. A lot of these people, they off to change. That's how it is in society, in today's society and everything. Anyway, we'll be talking.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you, Winnie. She's a faithful listener. Oh, yeah. And we got Bill on line 3. Bill.
Good evening, Rudy. How are you tonight?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. I have a question.
Okay.
I've been looking around, and I know you have this thing about rich people and how they feel so guilty about paying, how their trickle down doesn't work, and that they're so bad with it.
Wait. First off, let me just say this. I have opposed trickle down because I think it doesn't work. I'm not opposed to rich people. I think that they may not have paid, they are not paying their fair share, but I am not opposed to rich people at all.
Oh, okay, we're off on the wrong foot. I never said you, Rudy.
Okay, all right.
I'm talking about the rich people.
Okay.
And you keep presenting all these millionaires and billionaires and trillionaires that feel so bad and guilty about being rich. Okay? Now, you say that they say these tax breaks aren't right. Well, like that gentleman you talked about last week that you said bought an airplane and that there was a tax loop where he could get it for free by using the tax credit.
Right. Correct.
Right. Does he take it, or does he pay? Go ahead and just pay for the phone. I'm just not him, but like that. Walt Disney's daughter. She's all upset about these tax breaks. Does she pay those? Does she take them? I'm sure they do. Otherwise, I don't think they'd have that much money left.
Well, but think about this, Bill. Why would she make a video where she is criticizing the wealth that she will get from the tax break?
Okay.
So what you're saying is they're hypocritical, And what I'm saying to you is that they are giving us. See, here's the problem I have. That conversation that I've been having for 5 years, talking about trickle-down economics, was falling on deaf ears to people like you, conservatives like yourself, because they felt like they felt like, oh God, that Rudy on Wednesday nights, he's just running off at the mouth and he doesn't understand the economy, blah blah blah. Now you got rich people telling you the same thing I've been telling you. Now, if they're telling it to you, and I've been telling it to you, I'm cheering them on, because I know when they start saying this, there's going to be people that are going to say, yeah, you know what, maybe, just maybe I ought to think about that. That's why I'm happy with that.
Well, what I look at is first, Rudy, and I've been trying to get this through to you for about a year now, just because somebody has a different opinion about what you think doesn't make them a conservative. It just means it's a person that sits on the fence, an independent, who looks at things and sees these people with this guilt complex, okay? Do they take those breaks or not? Do we have anything? I've looked around. I really can't find a way to find it. Do we have any proof that they don't take those tax loops and just pay, like you and I do, the standard deductions and go for it? Well, you know, or is it just, or if it's so bad, then why isn't she involved with her company, like Sam Walton's wife, and got the employees a benefit package where they got stocks? I know I worked with a guy that was there back in 1990, and I joined in at 2001. And this guy went through the 3 upgrades to the stocks, and he was rich as could be. I mean, but she was the one that did it. Now, Disney's daughter, could go ahead and go to the board and say, hey, look, folks, you know, I'm probably the major shareholder. Here's what I want done for the guys wearing the costumes and all this.
But you didn't hear what she said, though.
What?
She didn't work a day for the money that she got.
So, what's wrong with that?
I didn't say there was anything wrong with it, but you're saying that she should go to the stockholders and give all the dancers and costume wearers more money, but she got the money. She just... So I'm not opposed to that, but I'm just saying, so she's admitting she got money she didn't work for.
So what?
Okay. But so
I mean, you know, that was her lottery in life. That was her station in life.
Okay, I'm not arguing that. But what I'm saying to you is, then why you want to call her a hypocrite? Because if you listen to what she had to say, she feels the disproportionate amount of wealth that goes to her versus everybody else is having an adverse effect on our society. And I happen to believe that.
Well, isn't it up to them to correct that adversity? Isn't they the guilty feeling ones? Or that's why they feel guilty, maybe?
No.
Because they're rich. No, listen, hear me out.
Okay.
Because they feel guilty. I got all this money for doing nothing. Well, hell, that was the drop of the hat. You know, you got lucky. Well, what are you doing? I mean, we don't have any knowledge of what her charity things are, but how about getting involved with your company more that you haven't done anything with, and get these raise the wages that are all right without raising the price of admission. I wouldn't go there now because I'm not going to pay over $100 to go in and then park for another 20 or 30. Well, I mean, don't pass the cost on to the customer. Use some of that wealth you got.
Okay.
All right, I better go so you can get whatever on before you get cut off.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Hey, thanks.
All right.
I mean, we could go on, but you probably got somebody else on the line that wants the app too.
Okay, all righty.
All right, good talk.
Okay, good talking to you too.
Bye.
Well, I think it's very interesting that folks are like, they're finding it hard to believe that people of great wealth don't necessarily believe that it's good for the economy, which is part of what, if you look at the statement that the patriotic millionaires make, that's the number one reason. It's not guilt.
But I don't know one single wealthy person that suffers from guilt because they're wealthy.
Yes, I
That's
know.
like an oxymoron? What is that? Money doesn't buy everything, but it does.
Yeah, I never heard. I've heard all of the statements that are being made by. Well, I couldn't say all that. That's an ignorant statement. I've heard a lot of the statements being made by the patriotic millionaires. I've never heard any of them say they feel guilty. No. They just feel that it is improper, disproportionate amount of income that's being generated by them versus the rest of society.
Do you remember who first generated that phrase, trickle-down economics?
That was under Reagan.
Absolutely, Ronald Reagan.
He started that, boy, and that caught on like wildfire.
He was a great communicator. He could sell an ice box to an Eskimo.
Oh, and listen, there are people that to this day, I know one person that I've known for a while, he won't budge off of that idea. You could hit him with a sledgehammer, and he will still believe that trickle-down economics is the resolution for all that ails us in this economy. He's absolutely iron core on that.
I think we got Winnie all worked up now.
Yes, Winnie. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, again, good to hear y'all again. You talk about wealth and all, but that's good. Nothing wrong with that. I was y'all mad to that guy with Amazon. His wife divorced him. They get their divorce. I was y'all mad to somebody like that. That's so enough wealth. That lady, she'll be the third or fourth richest woman in the world.
Yeah.
She get $35 billion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't you know we y'all gonna marry to somebody like that? That's so enough wealth and this and that and that. Oh my goodness! I said, go girl. It's a lot of little lady getting paid.
All right.
I like that, Rudy Howard.
Okay. All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. She talked about Jeff Bezos' wife got like $38 billion. Yeah, I guess she did get a few bucks.
$38 billion?
Something like that, yeah.
Wow.
And we got Tom. Tom, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you, Rudy?
Okay.
Did you know all these people with all this guilt for having too much money, when they pay their taxes in a few days, there's a box they can put as much more into the government as they want to and make it as socialist as they like?
Tom, you're all of you guys are on this guilt thing. Why can't they have?
Well, it doesn't matter if it's guilt or not. They can still give the money.
But wait, can't they be concerned about what's in the best interest of the country? You don't
They
believe?
sure can, and they can put their
okay.
money where their mouth is and donate their money. If that's the best, if you think the government can handle the money better than the people, they should give their excess money to the government.
Okay, well, let me. I hear you guys say that all the time. Now let's
Who's
talk.
you guys?
I hear my callers tell me all the time about how inefficient the government is. Okay, so let's talk about our inefficient government. Our inefficient government put a man on the moon. Our inefficient.
Okay, we can disagree on that, Rudy.
Okay, wait a minute.
If you think the government's efficient, tell them to give their money to them.
No. What I'm trying to say to you is there is a happy medium that I think we can meet, because the saying constantly that the government doesn't do anything right, which is that crap that Reagan fed us in the early 80s and everybody bought into, is just absolutely not right. Because you got...
They said they didn't do anything right, but they don't do a lot of things well. Try the VA or the DMV.
Some things they don't do well. There's other professions in this country that don't do things well all the time. No, government doesn't do things well.
I'm not forcibly made to pay those other professions. Government, I'm forcibly made to pay, or I'm going to be wearing stripes.
Well, okay. Well, I'm just going to say to you that there is the statement that keeps getting made that the government can't do anything right is felonious. And
I didn't agree with that. I didn't make that statement.
Okay, all right.
The answer, and they want to help more people by giving more to the government. They are freely allowed. They don't change what they're taking from the other people.
But why can't they advocate that people...
They can advocate all they want.
Well, okay, so do you think they're wrong because they advocate for people of great wealth that they should pay more taxes? You think they're wrong for that?
And then they should pay it.
No, do you think they're wrong?
Right
No, answer the question. Do you think they're wrong for advocating that people of great wealth should pay more taxes? That's a simple question.
They are, unless they voluntarily want to pay more.
Oh, so they're wrong unless the people of great wealth...
Well, not wrong for advocating. You can advocate all you want.
Okay.
Thank God it's still free here.
Well, you know what? Let me just say this to you, and this is something that I found out the other day. I've been claiming this my own, but I must have heard it a long time ago. Power concedes nothing without pressure. Nothing. When you're king of the hill, when you were a kid, and the kid tried to climb up the hill, you would try your best to knock that kid back down the hill so you could stay on top. Power concedes nothing without pressure.
Okay,
so if you got the money, you are not going to give anybody else an opportunity to get that money if you can help it.
Okay, well, whose money is that, though?
I'm just saying. I'm making a statement. So what the point?
I know, but you just said
okay. So here's my point. How much money is enough money? Do you have any idea?
That's not a question in this country.
Well,
that's different for every person.
Okay.
If you think you have enough, you can give whatever excess you have to the government or to charity, which is what I do.
Do you think the government?
You have your choice.
Well, okay, but I'm just going to say there is also potholes that need to be fixed, pipes that need to be replaced, roads that need to be rebuilt, bridges that need to be rebuilt. Where do we get that from? We get that from the air?
We get that from my property taxes every year.
Your property taxes don't begin to pay for that.
Well,
not
they're
even
not charging enough property tax if you think so, but I think they're charging more than enough. You take the inefficiency out and privatize that, and you'll get something fixed. Not the guys leaning on the shovel waving a flag.
So you think the answer to everything is privatize it?
No. The answer to some things is.
Okay.
Especially in local government. You've gone local. Look what we're paying per student in this county. You think we're getting that out of education? Is that going to the teachers? They're complaining they ain't got no money. Where does it go? The administrators. Look at the budget.
Okay. Well, I can see you're stuck on that. The government is a lousy way to help anybody.
It's a good way to do certain things. But if you put that money into private charities.
No, because you know what? Private businesses often leave.
Businesses, I said charity.
Well, you're not going to put all the money in private charity, but there
the
is
money that you're trying to help people with.
Well,
money you're gifting to people, the welfare, the housing assistance. Private will always do it more efficiently.
Well, that's not true.
And with much less corruption.
Well, that's not true either, because we got corruption going crazy right now. So, okay. But anyway, I don't want to belabor that with you. But okay.
And it's got a D after it.
Huh?
You have a good night. I appreciate talking to you.
Okay, all righty.
But I am not convinced. I don't believe that a remorseful, wealthy person exists. I don't think there's anybody genuinely sorry that they're rich. I'm sorry, but I don't buy it.
No, I don't think so either. I think what we have is some wealthy people that have a conscience, and their conscience says to them, this is just not right. Like the guy I talked about last week who said, that's when he got fed up. He said, I bought a plane, and if I can afford to buy a plane, it is ridiculous that I can write that off 100%. And we got Frank on line one.
Hey, Frank.
Hello, Rudy. Yes. I heard the quote that you just made about power does not relinquish until it is challenged, etc. that was first. That quote is from Saul Alinsky in 1967.
No, the quote was from Frederick Douglass.
I know, but Saul Alinsky repeated it on 1967 on the firing line episode with William F. Buckley.
Okay.
I have that on tape.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a great quote.
All right. So Saul Alinsky requoted Frederick Douglass, and your point is?
My point is he did it under the context of gathering the discontent of the impoverished against the wealthy, and that's what Saul Alinsky did in his in all his cities that he they generated the protests and organized the local communities. That's where we get the community organizer title from.
Okay. And your point
The reason
is?
for that is that they are jealous of the rich.
No.
Jealous of the rich. No?
No.
Really? Name a
no.
poor person that isn't jealous.
Well, I can tell you, I'm not jealous of rich people.
Okay.
I'm a progressive, and I'm not jealous of rich people.
Okay, but all the rest of
I know all the rest. No, there's a. Okay. I have a lot of friends who are progressive like myself, who are not jealous of rich people. Okay. We just want them to pay their fair share to contribute toward the wellness of our society. That's all.
That leads to another question. What makes you the arbiter to decide what their fair share is?
Opinion?
Okay, well, here's one thing. I would say if person like you, if you heard the video clip in the beginning.
Yes, I did. I heard the
and Disney's
daughter,
and she said, "I'm going to pay 21% in taxes." That's not fair, because all of you are going to pay more taxes than I am.
Okay.
Does that seem right?
You know what it
well, no, wait. Wait. I just want you to tell me that it's fair.
That's exactly what I thought when I heard that.
Okay.
He doesn't believe in the liberty portion of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. He doesn't believe in the liberty to pay that tax or not. He doesn't believe in that.
What do you mean?
He believes in an obligation.
What? I don't understand your point.
Okay, if somebody gets a tax break, they are at liberty to choose that tax break. Okay, that gives you liberty to take that money and do with it whatever you please.
The point. You're missing the point. The point is this.
Point?
The point is very simply this. Do you think that billionaire who pays 21% taxes should pay less taxes than you? Do you think that's equitable?
He's not paying less taxes than me. That's a false comparison.
No, it's not a false comparison.
It's
proportionately. I'm going to say
21?
Proportionately. If you're paying 21%, your percentage of tax is 21%. Mine ain't 21%. Yeah. Yours ain't 21%. Is that fair?
You're talking about federal income tax.
I'm talking.
He's going to pay $210 million on $1 billion.
Okay, wait.
I think that's fair. I don't think you should get any more of his money.
No, you are not saying the point. You are not acknowledging the point. They're acknowledging
your point.
You're not acknowledging the. No, it's not. It's not. The point is, if she's paying 21% and I'm paying 30%, is that equitable? And the answer to that is no.
Rudy, I couldn't live long enough to pay 1 year of his tax returns.
But it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the absolute amount. The amount doesn't matter. It's proportionate.
So
the question is proportionality.
You could do without his $210 million out of $1 billion. You can do without it.
Okay? Proportionate. Let's talk proportion.
Not proportionate to something.
Is it proportionately
so then you come back
fair?
To my question. What makes you the arbiter that you say it's got to be 35 or 40?
I didn't say that. What I'm saying to you is very simply: is it proportionately fair that somebody with $1 billion pays 21% and you and I pay 30%? Is that fair? And the answer is no. You're saying that it's fair because the amount of money that they pay is bigger than the amount of money we pay. But that's not the
reality
end.
is different. The reality is different than your perspective. That $210 million is more than 200 of my contributions by tenfold. So his contribution, I should be grateful that he pays 21% and not 10%. I should be grateful that he pays that money so that we can live off his largesse. I should be grateful.
You're okay. If that's the way you want to look at it, this is a free country, so you're certainly entitled to look at it that way. But I'm going to say this to you very clearly. That is why we have a problem. That is absolutely ridiculous that a person with that kind of wealth is paying a 21% tax rate and we're paying a 30% tax rate. That's just moronic.
I think our tax rate should come down too.
Then we really would be in great shape. Then we couldn't fix it.
Yeah, I think.
So we wouldn't be able to fix the schools. We wouldn't be able to fix the roads. We won't be able to fix the bridges.
Rudy, I got a feeling that you're a pretty good guy with numbers. I bet you if you went to the school board and looked at their balance sheet for a year, I bet you could find better ways to spend the money than they're doing it right now. I bet.
Have you looked at it?
Then you could start making some real progress.
Okay.
I think so.
Does he know your credentials? he doesn't know what you do on the side.
So. I think you have a pretty good sense of the value of money. I think so.
Okay.
I would trust you better than I trust the current school board administrators.
Well, thank you for that compliment. Yes, I appreciate that.
Seriously.
Yeah. Well, Frank, we're at the end of the show. I thank you.
You got the last word in tonight, Frank.
We got a very rigorous debate here. Well, I have to tell you, folks, thank you for listening to the African American scene. I didn't get through 1/3 of what I had prepared, but
that's okay.
Yes, that's okay. God bless and be safe. And I will see you next Wednesday right here for the African American scene.
And folks who are extremely wealthy do not suffer from guilt because of it. Okay, show me one. Tell me one. All right, the African American scene is heard every Wednesday evening in the 6 o'clock hour right here. Archives of the show in video are on YouTube. Look for WPSL TV on YouTube and look for Rudy Howard's African American scene. We'll be back Wednesday night with more right here. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, celebrating 25 years and counting.